cut from a different cloth. Now, joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nicky and Moose, bringing you a never-before-seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force, but more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
Was poppin'. Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose? And I can't hear you, but welcome to the live show. Are you back yet? There we go.
You should be able to hear me now.
I got you. So first and foremost, shout out to everybody who is watching this live. Please share on all your social media platforms. For my replay people, what's poppin'? You know what I mean? Today, or whenever you're watching this, episode 67 dropped, okay? We talked about amazing things. Jessica Simpson, the I Am Athlete, and EYL experience. You know what I mean?
Come on,
like, little bit talk about
now.
it. So if you have not checked that out, please go on all your podcast players, go to nickyandmoose.com, however you feel like listening to this situation. And of course, shout out to our YouTube people, our Facebook people, Twitter people, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching this or hearing this. We appreciate every single one of y'all. Moose, how are you feeling?
Man, feeling pretty good. Personally, I'm good. I think professionally, I'm a little frustrated, a little upset. I think some people, it's just from time to time you deal with people and or work with people or whatever the case may be, and you're like, man, why does it got to be so difficult? I feel like it should be easier. It should be easier to communicate and overcome certain challenges, but it is what it is, man. I think
I gotta beat up. I'm down to beat somebody up.
Yeah, we might.
We can fight.
Yeah, we might have to do that. We try and be.
We try to be peaceful, people.
Yeah, we try to be peaceful. We try and be nice to folks, man. But sometimes you just like, man, like, come on, y'all. It ain't got to be that complicated. But it is what it is, man. Just gotta keep rolling with the punches.
Yikes! So, people, just have my bail money ready. Hear me?
Oh man.
Hear me?
Oh man.
Like I try to leave the streets alone. I try to leave the streets.
They coming back, Nix. They coming back, man. Yeah. Yeah. What's up with you though? What's up with you?
Oh, I left New York in the coldest day. You know what I mean? Y'all tripping over there.
Year.
No.
The other year. It's getting disrespectful right now.
Yeah, no. Y'all tripping, and I left because y'all tripping. So, shout out to everybody who lives in New York and the tri-state area and all that great, lovely stuff. I had to leave y'all. I'm sorry. Y'all were getting too cold for me. You know what I mean? Y'all were getting too cold. But I am back. I am doing a virtual event tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. You know what I realized?
Tell us.
This is going to sound bad, but I'm okay with this, right? I'm okay with this. Caucasian people are very prompt. So, and you probably dealt with this with dealing with E and everything, but they want slides like mad days before the event.
Oh, mad days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like...
Your event's coming up in 2025. We'd like for you to send those slides next week. Next
week?
What?
Yes. How, Sway? Wait, I haven't even thought about it. But okay, cool.
Yeah.
The great thing about me, I could be like, I'm just coming back from COVID. Give me a few. Take your time. Yes. I'm like, praise God, because I definitely wasn't thinking about these slides.
Wait, this is not the one that you recorded when we were down in Cali at the same time?
No. That's in one of the M's, March or May. I think it's whatever the first one is, March. This is a whole other one with like really big people like Pat Flynn and a lot of in my industry kind of I've video talk. It's all about how to improve your video on all these different platforms. I'm talking about Instagram, of course, so it is what it is. But
that's what's up.
That's all I got.
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, well, let's jump right into this thing, man. I was I've been fascinated
with the couch vibes. Okay.
I left it out.
Okay.
I left it out. You know what I'm saying?
I
I left
you.
it out. That's probably why it looks a little different. I gotta fix the lighting around here, but anyway, we'll make it work. But yeah, I left it out when we were recording. We were like, "Yo, actually, we might just leave the apartment like this." So anyway, yeah, I've been really fascinated lately with understanding the psychology behind pricing. You know, like why people buy, why people don't buy, why certain companies or brands price the way that they do. Why is it that we might be extremely skeptical against one thing or against one price point, but be more than willing to pass our credit card to another company, even at the same price point?
Right.
So I've been thinking about this more and more, and I kind of ran like a little test study with our group last night, even just asking them about, their own thoughts.
Yep.
And the more and more I look into this, the more that I'm realizing it's never about money. It's never about money. So if you're out there and you're having some issues realizing or converting some people to sales or converting some clients or just getting people to buy into your mission or the overall idea behind your brand, it's not because of money. It's a credibility issue, right? There is some level of doubt in your ability to deliver on the things that you say that you can deliver on or can do or can accomplish. So I was like, okay, why don't we make brand credibility a bigger pillar or a bigger conversation when we talk personal brands, businesses, or anything in between? So I wanted to kind of bring to the table today a discussion around, how do we increase our brand credibility, not just in 2022, but honestly, moving forward and make it more of a regular conversation, because I don't know that everyone is as intentional as they should be around these are the things that I'm going to do consistently to make sure that I'm getting buy-in, that I'm proving my expertise, that I'm enhancing my credibility, so that it's no longer a level of doubt when that big conversation comes up, when it's time to talk money talk or bag talk or opportunity talk or things of that nature. So yeah, Nick, I wanted to dive into it, but definitely, kind of kick it off from your perspective, just like when it comes to brand credibility, what are those things that you think make people say yes or no? And what are those things that we should be doing to get some people to really start buying into what we're about, what we do, all things of that nature?
Well, before I answer that, right? What is, when you look at a brand, like the first sign of, okay, I could put a little trust in it. Like I could pay attention, not necessarily trust, but because that's like the second level, but I could somewhat pay attention to this to see if I could rock with it. Like just some random stuff.
Yeah, well, I looked it up before we jumped on, and it said brand credibility is defined as the believability of the product information contained in a brand. So like what you're promising is believable. And to some extent, it has you wondering, like, do you want to be believable, or do you want to be a little bit maybe overly optimistic? I think for some of us, that's a fine line nonetheless.
I like it.
Yeah.
I would have to say, for personal brands, and then I'll let you jump kind of more into the business side. But from a personal brand, I asked Moose the question because, like, what are some of the things that make you attracted to a brand and make you want to follow them, subscribe to them, comment to them, to then eventually buy whatever they're asking, right? And I always ask that because are you applying the same things that you are attracted to. Now, sometimes you'll say, well, we're not the same, we're not the same audience. I'm not trying to talk to the same people as they're trying to talk to. This is probably true, but it's the techniques and the tactics that actually got your attention that you need to pay attention to, because there are other people that have kind of the same way that you receive information that you should be applying within your brand, because they got you to like it, they got you to trust it, and they got you to eventually buy into something, even if it's just to get you off social media or off that particular platform, right? They got you to do something. And so pay attention to some of the call to actions. Pay attention to some of the words that they're saying, some of the content they're using, some of the colors and the wordplay that they have, because it's all in that. There's a lot of other things, but it's all in that really makes people want to do something with you. So it always starts with you. Why did you like this? Why did you follow this? Why did you take your credit card out? Like, you should be acting like a 2-year-old. Why? Why did I do this? Why? Mm-hmm. Why? And you should be like writing that out. Why?
Yeah,
why did I just go to this website after looking at this post? Why did I go further into their content once I watched this amount of, like, once I watched a 15-second video, once I watched a 30-second video? What made me join their email list? And break that all down. And I would say, if you really about it, 3 actions a day. So if you like something, break that down. If you went to a website, break what made you get to that website. If you liked an ad and you bought something from an ad, break down maybe possibly how many times you saw that ad. What, and this right here will give you, just by your actions, will probably give you a blueprint to your first sale, to your first subscriber, to your first share and engagement. This is probably going to, because you are like, I'm reverse engineering what I did. And if I did it and they got my attention, they didn't know me. They didn't know Nicky. They didn't say, I'm sending this out to Nicky. They're sending it out to people who have my attention span, who have my kind of interest in things like that and how I communicate. So, there's probably other people like me. So let me do that just so I can see if it works.
That's good. That's good. I love that. Yeah, definitely, like monitoring almost our own behaviors in a sense, and seeing, what pushes the needle with us and what can I mimic to help maybe my own clients or my own audience do the same thing. I think one of the things that comes to mind for a second, even from a personal brand standpoint, I always think about transparency.
Yeah.
I always think about, if you are honest about your own journey or your own failures along the way, or some of your mishaps per se, then I feel that me engaging with your brand, a product or a service that you may have, that you're not going to lead me blindly should stuff hit the fan. That it almost gives you that sense of security. Like, you know what? This makes me feel that if anything were to go wrong, I will be made aware of it, so that I'm not involved in something beyond the point that I should be. So I think from a personal brand, that's one of the things that, even as I monitor my own behaviors in a sense, that's one of the things that stick out, right? It's that concept of simply just being transparent and letting people know where you are in your journey, what's going well, what's not going well. I think that definitely increases credibility, because it lets people know that, hey, you're waking up daily and simply trying. And I think there's a lot to say for that. in today's world. Because I think the other part of it, when you kind of just show up with this massive amount of success, if there's no roadmap, I think there's a great deal of people who question. Like, some people might be impressed and they might be like, okay, this is pretty cool. But there's going to be a large group of people who say, well, how? Like, how did you just go from, 0 to $1 million overnight? Explain to us how. Where did this come from? So seeing that journey shows there's a track record, that there's a great number of attempts that have been put up to get you to where you are. On a business side, believe it or not, for me, I'm going to say professionalism. I think the professionalism and attention to detail are one of the most obvious things that stick out. My favorite business brand is Apple. Hands down, I don't think no one compares or comes close to it. They knock it out the park on every level. One of the things that I'm always fascinated by is how simple yet detailed their instructions are whenever it comes to returning a product back to them. So if you've ever bought any product recently or even in the last few years, you'll notice that they ask you to send your old product back if you're doing some form of trade-in.
Yeah.
And the package that comes in for you to return your old product is so simple. So simple. It's ridiculous how simple yet detailed it is. They make it for you to go right back. So I love that from a professional standpoint, you don't feel that the company you're dealing with is nickel and diming you. To some extent, you're wondering, like, my goodness, how are you guys so profitable if you're so willing to give and make accommodations and acceptance and provide service at the absolute highest level? So I think from a business standpoint, that's definitely one of those things. Let's talk about visuals for a minute, because I think visuals speak on both a personal and a professional level.
Yeah.
And they do create what I think we can speak to as perceived value. And perceived value is right in line with credibility, right? The way that you appear in the marketplace can let you know if you're worth 99 cents or 9,099 cents, whatever it is. Thanks. So how important are visuals, would you say, when it comes to credibility? Because, and hear me out on like the fine print of this, you can be not credible, but really gifted with visuals and like doing this whole facade, and you can be great, but not gifted with the marketing or the visuals and actually lose some points. So talk about the importance of the overall visuals of that.
I would say visuals are key. And we go based off of the simple fact of perception is everything, right? And so if you look like, based off storytelling, based off, how you're placing the product, how you are filming the product, the pictures of the product, the service, however you want to do it. And maybe you having people doing testimonials and putting it all together as this, just like this one amazing situation. Well, then your brand looks like you got it together, right? And looks is everything, unfortunately, in this day and age. So this is where it gets a little tricky, right? So because we respect high quality content and low quality content almost in the same context, right? Mm-hmm. Because to get our attention, it needs to be really dope content, right? It needs to be really dope visuals when it comes to a product or a service, right? Not necessarily you, but if you are trying to sell something, it has to first be presented in a really dope way. But then for it to be relatable and for people to really feel connected to it and feel like it's for them, then it could be a little bit more organic. Then it could be on your phone. Then it could be a really quick picture. People doing content for you. and putting that out, because now it goes from I got your attention to no, this is real life people doing it, and this is how it looks in real life, and then people are like, I'm sold, because this is not super highly produced. And so from a visual standpoint, a mixture of high quality and organic quality, I'm not going to say low quality, right? But organic quality is definitely needed, because perception is everything and where we are.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Can a big brand use organic content still?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, who was the last one that I saw do that? Shoot. I'll look into it while you talk, but there are people who use organic content just to, like I said, that's mainly to nurture who's already there. That's not to gain new people. That's not to get the attention of like new people, right?
Yeah.
Even so, I'll put it this way. Let's say you were coming out with like a book, right? Moose needs to come out with a book, but we're not saying anything, right? Let's say you came out with a book, right? And you just said, hey, look, I got a book. Grabbed your phone, got a book. And that'd be cool for your audience, right? But to truly grab the attention of possibly like warm audience and like people who haven't really been rocking with you, you do a grand presentation of a book coming out, right? They're like, hold up, what's this? Wait, he's coming out with something? You got him. And then you drop the organic vibes and they're like, oh, I'm here. So it's just like pretty nice, shiny thing is the bait. Hey, look, pretty, right?
Yeah.
And then I could be me because I already got your attention. You see what I'm saying?
So it's the attention grabber. Yeah. You know what's pretty cool is I'm noticing some of the bigger brands who we probably wouldn't expect this from. I think the fine line that they're arriving at is using culturally relevant sounds or people to get people's attention, to show like, hey, we're young, like we're creative, we're willing to take a chance and kind of step out there almost to make a fool of ourselves. But if that's what we got to do to get your attention, we're willing to do so. So I just saw something on YouTube today for Invisalign, the like clear braces type situation.
Yep.
And their ad was literally 5 seconds. But the way they did it was it's someone putting the Invisalign in their mouth and there's somebody else asking them, hey, what's that? And then, one of the, it's like a clip that even Marty uses a lot where it's like a young boy saying, don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Oh, yeah.
So they use, yeah. So they use that sound as the response to whomever was asking like, hey, what's that? You know, so I think that's one of the ways from a business standpoint that you can see some companies or even some bigger brands, they can incorporate that organic content, not necessarily just pull out your phone and do something where that's a little bit more acceptable with a person or an individual.
Yeah.
But you can use some of those culturally relevant sounds, culturally relevant moments, and incorporate that into your marketing where it shows the people who are watching you like, okay, you get me, like you are within my realm nonetheless. And it gravitates attention. Like I'm always hitting skip, like, the 5, 4, 3, 2 skip ad. I'm always just like, boop, boop. But when that came up, I was like, yo, that's pretty cool. Like I'm actually, I'm willing to listen to something like that because I'm seeing the creativity behind it and the attempt to do something different to capture attention. So from a bigger brand standpoint, I like to see that as well.
Yeah. So real quick.
Oh, go for it.
For the people who are watching, what do you prefer when it comes to a brand? Highly produced content or organic content? Just put it in the chat or the comments section, just to let us know highly produced or organic?
Here's a question for you. How can you make sure your reputation is not tarnished when you're using influencers? Because again, credibility is how people, we talk about how people view your brand or see what you're able to bring to the marketplace. But we also see the rise of influencer marketing and how many eyes or how much more you can get done by using influencers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, influencers are their own people. Like they're their own governing body. There's not somebody out there who's managing them or looking after them as it relates to your own brand so that they don't tarnish their reputation. How would you do that if you were responsible for, some form of campaign or whatnot? What would you do to like make sure like, okay, I'm going to work with people or I'm going to use influencer marketing for its benefits, but I'm not going to let it tarnish the reputation of my brand either.
Yeah, I think it goes with the vetting system.
100%.
Like, not just because a person may have numbers doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, you got to look at their interests. You got to look at their audience. You got to look at the type of content that they're putting out. You got to do a little bit of investigating and see what you can see outside of social a little bit to see if it goes along with your brand or not. Just because they may follow you doesn't mean anything, So it's all about investigating and really doing your homework when it comes to these influencers. Because granted, you get the right influencer, it could be better than ads. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it could definitely be better than ads. But if you get the wrong one and it goes completely the opposite of your brand values, it could do more harm than good.
Yeah.
Like, they may have hundreds and thousands of followers, but the fact that you are associated with them is now not so good on your end. Doesn't hurt them because they already have their reputation. But now you look a little thirsty just because you're running with numbers than necessarily values and real audience.
Yeah, that's major. No, and I think that's the cool thing about influencer marketing. Like you said, it works. Like it checks the box of the organic content without you having to do ads.
Yep.
Like it almost kills two birds with one stone. Let's talk about something else, maybe some things that can ruin credibility.
Okay.
Right. So I don't know where I heard you say this, but you were talking about over promotion or like overselling.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm wondering, like, when it comes to credibility, why and when is that a bad thing for a brand? Because here's one way to look at it. Again, just using my favorite brand for an example. Apple stores are open every day for business.
Yes.
Right? So what's the fine line between overly selling your product in a way where it makes you look a bit desperate? It can be a turnoff where you maybe lose credibility. But what's a way to do it where it's pretty organic, it's pretty seamless, like it's actually a part of doing business, and so people are not necessarily turned off by it?
I think a healthy balance of value and promotions, right? So what we don't get on social media for is to be sold to, right? And there was a time, I think everybody actually is getting a little bit better, unless they're just like kind of starting and they're trying to figure it out. But a lot of people are getting better at this, where it's not just flyers. It's not just promo videos. It's not just buy this, buy that, buy me, buy, like, it's not that as much as it used to before, right? Because we figured out that that's not going anywhere. And so you lead with value, and then you do call to actions. You drop value, and then a couple of posts later, you literally tell them what you have, right? There's nothing wrong with being upright, just saying, yo, I got an event coming up. You know, I got this coming up. I got that coming up. There's nothing wrong with that because, you know, you still have to have that healthy vibe of promotion, because if you don't put it out, who is?
Right.
So nowhere in here is saying don't promote. It's saying still lead with your audience in mind and their needs and desires. And then when you fulfill that to a certain extent, then look what I have to offer to get you to the next level. Look what I have. Boom. Look what I have. This, that, and the third. Right. And from a social media or YouTube level, you always want to get kind of like the entryway of things, right? So the little small things, whether it's events, whether it's small membership, not small memberships, but like memberships, merch, like high ticket items, you probably are not going to do so well just promoting that out the gate, right? You want to take people to a ladder, like up a ladder. And when you think about that, it's like you start with the free content, you know, you get them off social media, right? You may hit them with a flyer promo here and there, and they may go straight to the website and go because they are primed up. You've added so much to them. But maybe they need a text. Maybe they need an email. Maybe they need a webinar. Maybe they need something else, right? And then you're getting them deeper into your system of, hey, this is what I got. Hey, this is what I got. You could do all the promotion outside, still with a healthy balance of value and selling, because what people do very wrong is when they get the email or the text, then it's just straight buy. You're not even saying hi to them. You're not even giving them a story. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and so you want to still be like, here's this, here's that. Come join me here. It's free. You know, still do those things. But then, hey, I got a membership. Hey, I got this program. Hey, I got this product, this service, things like that. And they're more receptive to see that and buy into it compared to maybe just blasting it out on social media. So it's a healthy balance overall. But if you really want to get into the promotion vibe, I would definitely say get them off social media so you could do that a little bit more than what you do on your platforms.
That's good. That's good. I like that. That's good. What's and I'm asking you a lot of questions today because obviously this is more so your lane, and I think it's like I said, I don't know that I hear people talking about this specific thing. We hear people talking about branding all the time, but brand credibility, like do's and don'ts of how to build your credibility, I don't know that that's talked about enough. But you know, you mentioned obviously adding value instead of coming off the bat and just selling or going crazy with promotions and things of that nature.
Yep.
If someone is just entering the space, right? Let's say someone just started their brand recently. How long should they look to add value before they start selling? Or is that even a thing?
I don't think it's really a thing. I don't think, because your first couple of followers can be buyers. You know, they may be ready. They may see what you have, and they saw it for a few times and they were already sold. Like, so I think out the gate, you should come in with like, if we want to come up with a number, like 3 value posts and then a call to action, a promotion kind of thing. 3, let's do another one. Let's see how it is, right? Or even within the value post, you know, put a call to action in your captions or have it pop up in whatever content that you're putting out, you know, kind of see how people react to it. If they don't, if your views or your likes goes a bit down, like what is that really looking like when you do these particular sales, you know, actions. So I don't think really it is a true ratio, but that's an example of one. But you can out the gate go straight for a sale if you play it right.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I kind of have like gathered my own, maybe like I guess you could call them like a list of principles or things to live by as I prepare to kind of like just be more consistent in having those conversations online, right? And the first thing that I've realized that is not done enough, or it can easily add credibility in a very organic way. Because like if you notice, even in the comments, people responded well to organic.
Yeah.
People responded well to value. There's like certain themes that I think even if you're someone who's a business owner or thinking about starting a brand, or you have a personal brand right now, you can listen in on conversations like this and see the things that people respond to. And that can trigger some ideas in your mind like, oh, people really care about this. And although this is a small sample size, I bet there are many others who care as well, right? Or care about the same thing. Right. So for me, I've noticed that it almost going back to that tracking our own behavior or the consumer behavior, I've noticed that I'm interested in the origin story. I'm interested in the backstory of how it was developed and how it came to be, and what's the overall mission or agenda that you all are running with. So you should devote at least, I would say, 1 week, once a month, however you want to do it, to introduce yourself to people using your origin and your backstory, right? So again, it shows the track record of how you are. So that's principle one. Principle two, last week I came on, I said, try before you teach. And I think I want to change from try to test. You know, like really put it through the ringer, put some pressure on it to make sure that it can survive the test. Because, and I spoke about this at least when you were here as well, when I had the guys come down over the weekend for us to kind of really review and plan and all that. And we sat down and talked about, okay, like what era are we in? What era are we getting out of? And we were pretty much starting to see that this is the era of promotion. Marketers are the ones who are, for the most part, killing the game right now, right? Yep. This is a big promotional era. But where it's going, and some marketers, especially if this is what they love to do, it probably might not be happy to hear this, but where it's going, we're predicting is it's going from promotion to product, where it's the quality of products that deliver on the promise marketed in everyday ads that people are going to start responding to. People want to know for sure that what you're giving me, what you're telling me about, does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So for us, I think one of the ways that you can protect your credibility is to go back and fix any gaps or holes in your process or your system that are not delivering on the promise that you originally made. And that's why I said the transparency, like that's an attribute that nonetheless people will respect and appreciate. Like, man, you know what? You've had this thing out for multiple years, several years, whatever the case may be, and it hasn't maybe delivered on this promise, and we've kind of swept it under the rug because of maybe who you are, how you are, whatever it may be. But it's appreciated that you're going back to fix, upgrade, or update and make sure that some of these things are addressed. So some of the things that you see in big brands or big companies that we can utilize in our own operations to mimic those behaviors that we know are well. Like you got to look into some of the research and development budgets that some of these big brands have. Matter of fact, I'll challenge you guys to do that. Why don't you do that? When you get a second.
I challenge you.
I'll challenge you real quick to do that. Why don't you do that for me? Go look at the R&D budget of some of your favorite companies or brands, and just see what those numbers are. And you would be almost shocked, like, dang, y'all are spending how much? How much are you, like, that's crazy. But I think that's one of the most important things, because no matter how good you are not as intimate with your product or your business as some of these people are, right? Like some of your customers, that is. So utilizing that as an opportunity to get back on the ground, it's, we've seen something, I forgot who was telling me about it, that someone paid to be treated like an employee.
Oh, they have those shows.
Exactly.
What's that?
Undercover boss or something like that.
Yeah. I always feel like that was done in like the early 200, but like because but they play it so recent, but it was really good.
Yeah, to some extent it's exaggerated, but I think it is that same mentality. It's just the idea of, let me get back to a level of the business where I can really see what's happening without having it sugar-coated, without having it maybe protected because of the position in which I sit at or the way people view me. If you're really wanting to make shifts, because at the end of the day, that's what drives credibility. So when you look at that definition, it's talking about how believable, right? How believable something is. So those are some things, Nick, that as I'm kind of like elevating and continuing to see the importance of something like brand credibility, I'm telling myself, go back and fix it. Take out some of the things or upgrade and update some of the things that are no longer working, used to work, can be reworded or redone because of just the infrastructure, the environment that we live in today. And at the same time, give people the origin story, give people the background story. That's a big part of the reason why big companies or companies that have been around a long time, they'll always tell you how long they've been around for. It's like EST 1934, EST, whatever it may be, because they know that longevity is one of those signs that help to boost credibility. So that's another one of those things that I'm like, okay, let me inform people on it so that they're not just thinking that, again, you popped up overnight.
That's good. I like that. I got a question for you. Mm-hmm. So without naming the brand, right? What was a brand that had gained credibility with you, but they did something, or there was a switch up of their content, their branding, however it is, that made you disinterested?
I honestly, I'll go to what we covered this week on the podcast.
Okay.
With the I Am Athlete, like that brand in my mind was, I thought they were going to be the next big thing. Cause I'm like, man, the way they're running this thing, the business is multifaceted. So again, I'm a business development junkie. I really appreciate and look into the art of business building, right? Yeah. Like how does brand marry business and how does operations and strategy and personnel fall under the hood of business? Because people see business, but underneath business, there's a lot of other things. That there's a strategy, there's an operation or a method of operation or a way to run the business that matters. There's specific people or specific types of people that you got to have on board for your business to function the way it was. So when I look at that particular brand, I'm like, wow, you have B. Marshall running the brand and doing some incredible things and is a natural on camera, is having some incredible conversations. And of course, given his background, his longevity or his career in the NFL, there's a large network of people that he's bringing on that every single episode, you're like, yeah, I want to listen and hear what Cam Newton has to say about not being in the NFL right now. Yep. Yeah, I want to hear what Deion Sanders has to say about mental health and coaching at back in college football. So it's like name after name after name, you're going back and you're hearing stories that you couldn't hear anywhere. And then on the flip side of it, you look at the business facet, you got a clothing brand that's booming, using some of the best designs and some of the best material. This is the stuff that makes business. Like, we can sit here and talk fluff about it, but when you look at that stuff, it's like, oh, this is the real stuff. So you see that, And then you see also the training facility and how one thing is leading the other, or one thing is feeding the other. And that's kind of what I call like empty the bucket. So one bucket is watering the next one and spilling into the next one because it's all under one lane.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the brand is for athletes or former athletes who have conversations about what it was like to be in their shoes. And then people who look up to them want to dress like them or use that material because they know how important that is. And then others who are thriving to stay in the league or get to the league are going to those spaces so that they can train under that hood. So I looked at that business model, and mind you, I'm no longer training to be a professional athlete. I'm not doing any of those things. But from a business strategy standpoint, I was like, oh, they're killing it. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And then something like that happens where the core crumbles a little bit. And I'm not saying that the business is going to go under. I mean, I think I was actually going to send it to you last night. I was watching a piece of it. One of the members came back. At least it looks like it. But still, it makes you question, like,
They did?
oh yeah, one of them came back. Ocho came back. He was on an episode that came out last night.
I don't know if Ocho said there was a problem.
Oh,
We'll have that conversation. It's the other two, because the other two created a separate podcast, The Pivot.
I seen that. I thought that was just an episode they were talking about.
No,
but
there's
yeah,
several.
I went in and watched it, and I seen
there's
some
several
things.
joints, and they did have Ocho.
I
The
saw
thing, they
that
did
too.
have
I
Ocho,
know.
but it wasn't like I'm looking at it. Like I said, we'll have that conversation. If you didn't hear the podcast of what we're talking about, go listen to episode 67. We kind of break it down a little bit more, the details of what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, I'm just saying, when you see a big shift in leadership, that's one of the things that has to make you question. And that's not to say the brand won't be better. You know, sometimes I just think that at a large scale, it attracts more attention. It attracts, people to kind of wonder and to some extent gossip about it, either in a good way or a bad way. And that can make you wonder. So I think off the bat, that's one of those brands or companies that come to mind immediately. Like, man, y'all were cruising in this, like killing it. But and I think we did a good job kind of talking about it. Like when there are too many ideas or too many visions or too many things just happening, it can get pretty ugly out of nowhere.
These are facts.
Yeah. Do you have one? Do you have one? Do you have a brand or something that come to mind, like along the same line?
No, I don't think I really do. Because it takes. Well, no, I'm gullible. I will say this. I'm super gullible. Like, I just send an ad to Nick. There's these whatchamacallit, these rugs, not rugs, like these mats that the second you come out of the shower, it absorbs. I'm not telling you the name because they're not paying me and I haven't bought it, but it like soaks up the water and everything like that. It just seems so fire. I don't know if you've seen this ad, but it's so fire. And I'm like, I want it. And he's like, yo, I've been so ignoring these ads. I'll be like, I want it. I'm one of those. You let me see it a few times. I like it. I want to get it. I saw a college dropout bear rug. I'm gonna buy that. I bought it. I never heard of these people, but I bought it because it's the college dropout bear. So I may not be the best one because I'm very gullible. You say hi and I'm like, oh, I love you. Okay, yay, you're great. And you have, especially if you have like a notable something that I need, or a notable person or object that I like. I was like, oh, I'm paying attention to you. Hello. Easiest thing to do if you have anything of Nipsey, I'm paying attention. Like, hey, what you got? Hello. So I'm not the one. I'm definitely not the one.
Yeah. And you know what's funny too? It's crazy how much people can like drive revenue or get by simply by staying in somebody's face.
Yep.
You know, like you don't, it's nothing incredibly innovative or anything out of the blue, but you just put things in place to stay in front of people's faces, whether that be through ads, like you said, right? That are constantly coming up and coming up. And then eventually you're like, okay, fine. What the heck? All right. I'm going to give this thing a shot. So I think that's another part of it too, man, that people will eventually believe that you're credible because you've been around. Like you just stuck it out, like you're still there and you're still pushing. And I think in a way it shows a level of confidence too, that you're not like necessarily afraid or ashamed of selling your product or your service. It's like, no, I'm here. Buy. We're open. Check out now. You know, it's
Right
like that
now.
kind of thing. Yeah.
I ain't mad at that. I ain't mad at it. Well, we have a few more minutes. You got one more question? We got a few more minutes.
No, brand credibility, man. Seriously, this thing is important, and for those of us who are, let's talk about that for a little bit. You know, some of us who might think like, again, you know, still building a confidence or whatever it may be, and don't have the confidence or feel like they are being annoying when they're, you know, doing things to push credibility for their brand. It's like, no, I don't like to promote myself, or I'm humble, or that kind of thing. Let's talk about that real quick before we close, because I'm like, it's messing it up. Yeah.
I'll say this, for those people who think they are, wait, hold on, real quick.
Vaughn strikes again.
Shout out to Vaughn, because
You're
she
incredible,
comes
Vaughn.
on YouTube and blesses the family with a super sticker that is crazy. So shout out to Vaughn, of course. It's like it feels like once a month. It's like a once a month in the offering. Here you go. Love you guys.
Yeah.
But what I will say is we think that people see everything that we do, right? So we think, okay, if I posted, let's talk about the podcast. If I posted or talked about the podcast today on my feed and on my stories, and I emailed it, I don't have to do it tomorrow because it could be annoying. It's a little bit too much. 9 out of 10 times they didn't see all the things that you did. We have things called the algorithm. We have things called people have a life. You know, they could be distracted, so they may wanted to do what you wanted them to do, but they had other things to do. We've left numerous of things in our carts and get squirreled, and then look, and then we may get a reminder that it's still in our cart if the system is right. But so there's a lot of things that we have to understand can distract or just totally not be in people's radars. And so we have to constantly promote every single day, right? In some way, shape, or form, directly or indirectly. And I get it. It's like, yo, for the humble people, because I'm still somewhat that way, right? Somewhat. I've gotten a lot better. But understanding that we are not trying to create brands that are starving. We have to see some type of results and numbers and engagement and subscribers and all that great stuff only gives you a warm and fuzzy in your like inner core, not outside in the real life. Not when you're really trying to prioritize, do I pick this that pays the bills, that allows me to continue to do this? Or do I do this in hopes and dreams that it'll eventually work one day? Right? So we have to do things that will fulfill our desire for results, so it doesn't necessarily feel like a task or feel like we're starving brands out here. So we may have to put our PayPal, our Cash App, kind of slightly promoting it in our content. We may have to constantly promote our affiliate links, constantly promote our merchandise, our programs that are coming up or that are already here. You know, we have to do this on a regular basis. For one, we are our biggest marketing team. We're the ones that are always going to talk about our stuff, right? And then, like, we have to understand that the more that we put it out, the better chances people see it. Because we're now relying on things that we don't control to make sure people see it. There's not 100% guarantee that if I post this, or if I do a video on this, if I do a podcast on this, everybody's going to hear it.
Right.
There's no guarantee. So we have to be our own marketing team over and over again, and then allow our followers and our fans to be the marketing team as well. And that will also help get it out. Like, shout out to everybody who's taking a screenshot of this and taking a screenshot of the podcast and listening, because you've helped us get the word out and being able to be on these charts and being able to continue these channels, right? We could do it ourselves, but we can only get so far.
100%.
You see what I'm saying? But if we didn't talk about it, they wouldn't talk about it. How
100%.
are you going to expect other people to talk about your brand if you don't talk about your brand? So.
Come on, y'all. Come on. Come on, y'all.
But
Get creative. Don't be ashamed, and push brand integrity. I'm telling you. Credibility. Eventually people, and again, I'm just amazed that what drives credibility is not the things that we thought about, right? Mm-hmm. It's just simply, and it goes back to consistency, some of the basics that, of course, we've talked about and highlighted on this show. But no, man, great conversation. Very great information, too, that you shared.
Very good. Now, for all our people who are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, however you're watching this, besides YouTube, go on YouTube right now. We're about to premiere how to make money on a podcast or just any type of content. It's going to premiere literally right now after this live is done. So go check that out. We appreciate you. Go check out the podcast as well. Moose, thank you for this conversation.
Absolutely. Likewise. Yeah.
We're going to head over to the premiere. Love you guys. You know what we're going to say?